Have you ever stopped to look at yourself in the mirror and felt that something has changed, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is? Maybe it's the way your eyes seem brighter, how your skin has a different glow, or even the way people look at you. It may seem subtle, but over time it becomes impossible to ignore. Friends, co-workers, and even acquaintances start to notice. Some comment, others just observe with curiosity. Have you ever felt that? But here's the question. What's really happening? For those who are chosen, this change has nothing to do with creams, diets, or treatments that promise miracles. This transformation starts from the inside out. It's something much greater, something that cannot be explained with simple words. It's God working in you. This transformation, even if it appears physical, goes beyond what the eyes can see. When you walk with God, when you surrender to His presence, something different starts to happen. Little by little, what's inside you, the peace, the faith, the strength that comes from Him, begins to overflow outward. And that changes everything. Your posture, your energy, even the way you face difficulties. It's as if you're living at a different pace while the world around you seems stuck in the same place. And do you know what's most impressive? People notice. Even if they don't understand why, they can see that something about you has changed. Perhaps you've already noticed curious glances or questions like, "What have you been doing? You seem different. You look happier." What they don't know is that this difference comes from God. It's nothing you bought or that the world can offer. It's the reflection of God's care in your life. When you draw closer to Him, something extraordinary happens. It's as if He renews you, gives you a new breath, a new vitality. The time that once seemed to weigh on you now feels different. You're no longer alone, no longer carrying everything on your shoulders. God is with you, and that transforms not only your heart, but also what's around you. You might be asking yourself, why me? Why did this change start in me? The answer is simple. You were chosen. God placed His hands upon you. And when that happens, everything in your life changes, from the inside out. And this transformation, my friend, is just the beginning of something much greater. This change you're feeling isn't just about appearance. Yes, you might look younger with renewed energy, but that's only a reflection of something much bigger. It's like when a lamp lights up. The glow we see on the outside comes from something happening inside. God is working within you, shaping you in a way that no one else can. The truth is, to those who aren't connected to God, this change seems like a mystery. They look at you and think, what did He do? What's her secret? But the answer is something the world can't understand. This transformation is God's work. He is acting so deeply that even your appearance reflects what is happening in your spirit. Perhaps you've noticed that some people around you have started to distance themselves. This can be painful, but it's part of the process. When God begins to transform you, not everyone can handle that change. Some feel uncomfortable, some don't understand what's happening. But don't worry about that. Those who truly matter will stay by your side. And more than that, your transformation can inspire those who need a reason to change. God is renewing you from the inside out. And this renewal is much more than a youthful appearance or different energy. It's a freedom that only those who walk with Him can feel. It's as if the weight of life is slowly being lifted off your shoulders. While others are overwhelmed, tired, and marked by difficulties, you are blossoming. And it's not because you're better than anyone else, but because you were called for a special purpose. This transformation also comes with responsibility. It's not just about looking younger or stronger. It's about living in alignment with this calling. Every step you take, every decision you make reflects God's light, and that is something that can deeply impact the people around you. When God decides to act in someone's life, the transformation is complete. He doesn't just work on what's visible or superficial, but on everything, from your thoughts to how you see the world. It's like a house being restored. He doesn't just change the curtains, but strengthens the foundation. This work begins in the heart and over time is reflected outward. Perhaps you've noticed something different about yourself, but can't quite explain what it is. It might be in how you feel lighter, more confident, or even in the energy that seems to radiate from your gestures and gaze. But do you know what's most impressive? This change doesn't stay just within you. Those around you notice it, even if they don't say anything. This transformation is unique because it doesn't come from human effort. It comes from God. And when God acts, He doesn't just strengthen you for life's challenges. He makes the difficulties that once overwhelmed you now seem smaller. That doesn't mean the problems disappear, but you face them with a strength that isn't yours. It's His. Have you ever seen a candle lit in a dark room? No matter how small the flame, it draws the eyes of everyone nearby. That's exactly what happens when God places His light within you. Even without trying, you begin to shine. And this light isn't just about appearance or youthfulness. It's about the life that overflows from within. While many try to understand the reason, the answer is clear. It's God. He is renewing you in every detail. That's why, even on difficult days, you carry a strength that can't be explained. And this light isn't meant to be hidden. It's a living message that God can transform anyone who surrenders to Him. The most fascinating thing is how this change affects those around you. Some draw closer, curious, wanting to know what you're doing. Others may distance themselves, perhaps because they don't understand or feel uncomfortable. But in both cases, the impact is real. You become a reference for something beyond what the world can offer. And that, in itself, is an incredible purpose. This transformation you're experiencing isn't random. God never acts without a clear purpose. He is shaping you for something greater, something you may not yet fully see. But one thing is certain. He saw something special in you. He chose you to be a reflection of His glory in this world. Think about it. There are moments in life when we feel like we're just moving forward without much direction, but when God acts, He brings meaning even to the simplest things. Every stage of your journey, even the pain and difficulties, has a purpose. He uses all of it to prepare you. It's as if God is polishing a diamond, and that diamond is you. This divine choice isn't about privileges or advantages. On the contrary, it's about responsibility. When God renews you, He's not just taking care of you. He's preparing you to touch the lives of others. Your transformation is a silent but powerful message. When someone sees the peace in your eyes or the strength in your posture, even without words, they realize that something different is happening. What stands out most about the transformation God brings is that it's impossible to ignore. People may try to find rational explanations, but will always encounter something they can't comprehend. And you, who perhaps were invisible to many before, now begin to be noticed in a completely new way. Some will ask you directly, "What have you been doing? What's the secret?" Others, perhaps more reserved, will just observe from a distance, but the point is that no one remains indifferent. And you know, this isn't about appearance or vanity. It's not about looking younger or more attractive. It's about the energy you carry, the strength you transmit. That strength, that light, comes from God. And no matter how much the world tries to label or explain it, only those experiencing it know how real it is. It's a transformation that begins in the spirit and is reflected in every detail of your life. It's as if time itself has lost its power to weigh you down. And that is something that can only come from a higher purpose. But why does God do this? Why did He choose you? Because He has something special planned for your life. God doesn't choose randomly. He sees what no one else sees. He sees what you can become, even if you haven't realized it yet. And this renewal is preparation. God is strengthening and shaping you because He knows the mission He has for you requires more than physical strength. It demands a renewed spirit, a focused mind, and a body that reflects His work. This transformation is part of His plan. It's as if God is saying, "I am preparing you for something that only you can do." And do you know what's most amazing? This preparation isn't just for you. It's so that through your life, others can be touched. God uses the chosen as beacons to light the way for those who are still lost, and by doing so, He transforms not just you, but also everyone around you. When God chooses someone, He also gives them the strength needed to face whatever comes. And that strength isn't something you'll find in gyms, books, or self-help advice. It's a strength that comes from above, an energy that keeps you standing even on the toughest days. It's as if he's saying, "You're not alone. I am here, holding you up." This strength is different because it doesn't depend on circumstances. It appears when you need it most, like a reminder that God is in control. Perhaps you faced moments where you thought you wouldn't make it, but suddenly something changed. The weight that seemed unbearable became lighter. That's the kind of strength only God can provide, and it's not just so you can feel good, it's so you can fulfill the purpose He has planned for your life. This energy isn't visible to everyone, but those around you notice it. They see how you respond to challenges, how there's something unshakable within you, even when things get tough. This isn't luck or coincidence. It's the reflection of God's presence in your life. While the world searches for quick fixes to feel better, whether through treatments or methods promising instant happiness, you are experiencing something deeper. What God is doing in you isn't just a physical transformation. It's not just about how you look or how others perceive you. It's something much greater. A change that begins in the unseen and overflows into the visible. It's as if your outward appearance is merely an external sign of what's happening in your spirit. When God works in you, He transforms your very essence, and that changes everything. Your eyes begin to carry a light that wasn't there before. Your posture, which might once have been marked by weariness, now reflects confidence and ease. Not because you're perfect, but because you are at peace, and that peace which comes from God is impossible to hide. This process is unique because it cannot be replicated. What God does in the lives of His chosen ones has no imitation. There is no cream, surgery, or technique that can reproduce His grace. And that's what leaves people around you so intrigued. They sense that something is different, but they can't understand it. And in their confusion, they try to label it as luck, coincidence, or something unusual. But you know what's happening. You know that God is shaping you, step by step, for something greater. This transformation is just the beginning of what He's about to do. One of the most beautiful aspects of this transformation is that it doesn't stay within you. God never works in isolation. He uses every change, every experience, to touch other lives. And sometimes He does this in ways you can't even imagine. It might be through a smile, a kind word, or even the simple fact that someone observes you and notices something different. People begin to ask themselves, how does He do it? Why does she seem so well, even amid so many challenges? And at that moment, you become a living message. There's no need to preach, explain, or convince. Your life speaks for itself. God is using you as proof that He works, that He transforms, that He cares. This might seem like a big responsibility, but remember, God never gives you a burden greater than you can carry. He strengthens you so that you can be this light, so that your journey inspires others to seek the same path. And in the end, this transformation isn't just about you, it's about everyone who will benefit from what God is doing through your life. When God chooses someone, He doesn't make just any change. He brings about a transformation that breaks barriers and challenges what the world considers normal. While many feel trapped by the weight of routine, difficulties, and even aging, the chosen ones experience something different. It's as if there's an invisible freedom, a lightness that others can't explain. This renewal isn't just a temporary relief. God is shaping you to live beyond the limitations that so many people face daily. He gives you energy that doesn't depend on external circumstances. When everyone around you seems worn out by time, you are flourishing. Not because you are special on your own, but because God is sustaining you. And this freedom isn't something you achieve through your own efforts. It comes from surrendering to God, from trusting Him completely. Every prayer, every moment of silence in His presence, every decision to walk in His path strengthens this renewal. Gradually you realize that what once seemed to pull you down no longer has the same power over you. Those who look from the outside often can't understand what's happening. They see that something has changed, but don't know exactly what. And in their attempt to find answers, they might even make assumptions. Some will think it's luck, others might assume you've discovered some secret to living well. But you know that the secret isn't any human method. It's God. The most curious part is that even without understanding, people can't ignore it. The transformation God brings is too visible to go unnoticed. It's something that impacts, that attracts attention and comments. And while some may react with curiosity or even envy, this shouldn't discourage you. On the contrary, it's a sign that God's work in your life is being noticed, but it's important to remember that not everyone is ready to accept what they're seeing. Some people may distance themselves or react with resistance. This isn't about you, but about what God is doing. The light you carry can be uncomfortable for those still living in darkness, and that's okay. Your role isn't to please everyone, but to walk in the purpose God has for you. This transformation you're experiencing isn't just a gift, it's also a mission. God doesn't renew your life just so you can feel good or so that everything becomes easier. He does it so that you're prepared for a greater calling. And that calling requires you to be strong, resilient, and full of faith. Think about this. When you become a reflection of God's glory, your life begins to have an impact far greater than you can imagine. You inspire, transform, and even challenge those around you, often without realizing it. Your journey stops being just yours and becomes an instrument for God to reach other lives. And yes, this may seem like a great responsibility, but remember, God never gives you something you cannot bear. He strengthens you, guides you, and prepares you at every step, and as you trust in Him, the mission becomes clear. You realize that everything that once seemed difficult or meaningless now has a greater purpose. Have you ever felt that suddenly people started looking at you differently? Maybe you've noticed curious glances, subtle questions, or even unexpected compliments. It's as if something about you is shining brighter, isn't it? But where does that come from? This light that now seems to surround you doesn't come from you or anything you've done. It comes from God. When He chooses someone, that person no longer goes unnoticed. The glow you carry isn't just physical, it's spiritual. And do you know what's most interesting? Even if no one can explain it, no one can ignore it. Your presence starts bringing something different to the places you go. God is using this light for a purpose. He has made you a beacon, but it's not just so you stand out. It's so that others, who may be lost, can find a path. You don't need to speak, convince, or do anything extraordinary. Just being who you are, renewed by God, speaks louder than any words. Have you ever stopped to wonder why, among so many people, God chose you? It's not about luck or coincidence. God never acts without reason. He saw something in you, something that perhaps even you haven't yet realized. He knew that, with the right transformation, you could reflect His glory. But why me, you may ask? Because God doesn't choose the strongest or the most prepared. He chooses those who are willing. And once you respond to His call, everything begins to change. He doesn't just renew you, He prepares you for something greater. This choice also comes with responsibility. It's not about living only for yourself, but for a purpose that goes beyond your own life. God is shaping you so that your journey inspires others. It's like a stone thrown into water. The initial impact is small, but the ripples that form touch far more than it first seems. Have you noticed how many people live on autopilot? They wake up, work, deal with problems, sleep, and repeat it all the next day. But somehow, your life seems different now, doesn't it? As if something is out of the ordinary. This difference is not by chance. God doesn't want you to live like everyone else. He has called you to step out of that exhausting cycle and live something much greater. When He begins to transform your life, even challenges start to have meaning. They stop being burdens and become steps that strengthen you. And here's the most amazing part. This transformation God is bringing isn't just to free you from exhaustion or routine. It's to lift you to a level that only those connected to Him can experience. While the world struggles against time and difficulties, you are being renewed. And this is impossible to hide. You know that feeling that something big is happening, but you can't quite explain it. Maybe you can't even put it into words, but you sense it. Things are no longer the same. Perhaps it's the way you feel when you wake up, or even how people look at you now. There's something different, isn't there? This change is deeper than it seems. It doesn't start on the outside, but within you. It's God working silently, yet powerfully. He doesn't ask for permission, He simply begins. Slowly, what was broken starts to come into alignment. The worries that once consumed you no longer carry the same weight. And what's most impressive, This transformation doesn't go unnoticed by those around you. But why is this happening to you? Because God chose you. And when He chooses, He changes everything. It's not just your heart that changes, but also the way you live, how you relate to others, and even how you face challenges. What once shook you now only strengthens you. Have you noticed that when your life starts to change, not everyone around you is happy? Some people may react strangely. They distance themselves, feel uncomfortable, or even make unexpected comments. But why? The truth is that when God transforms you, it can be uncomfortable for those still trapped in their own limitations. Your light, which now shines brighter, acts as a mirror. Not because you want to show anything, but because God's presence in you cannot be hidden. And not everyone is ready to face the reflection of their own stagnation. But here's the secret: don't let that shake you. This distancing is part of the process. God is preparing you for something greater, and not everyone can keep up with this level of transformation. The important thing is to remember that even as some drift away, others will draw closer. Your light can inspire those who need a new path. Pause for a moment and think, how many times have you heard about something that promises to change your life? Diets, products, methods, therapies. There's always something new being sold as the solution to all your problems. But deep down, none of it satisfies. It's all superficial, isn't it? Now compare that to what God is doing in you. It's priceless. It can't be bought. It's a transformation that begins where no one else can reach, in your soul. God doesn't promise quick results, but deep changes. And the most incredible part is that while the world desperately seeks something temporary, God offers you something eternal. This renewal you are experiencing is unique. It's not just about appearance, but about purpose. When He starts working in your life, even the way you face challenges changes, not because they disappear, but because now you have the strength to face them. You may still feel fear or uncertainty, and that's normal. After all, no one is born ready for something so big. But the important thing is to take the first step, to trust that even if you don't have all the answers, God already knows everything. He is ahead, guiding you. And every step you take in that direction strengthens the transformation that has already begun in your life. Remember, you were chosen. And this isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing. God doesn't choose the strongest or the most prepared. He chooses those who are willing to trust in Him, and by doing so, He transforms everything. It's time for you to ask yourself, am I willing to live according to the purpose God has placed in my life? Accepting this calling means letting go of what no longer makes sense, renouncing burdens that aren't yours to carry, and walking forward with confidence, knowing that God is in control. You may still feel fear or uncertainty, and that's normal. After all, no one is born ready for something so big. But what matters is taking the first step. Trusting that, even though you don't have all the answers, God already knows everything. He is ahead of you, guiding the way. And with every step you take in His direction, the transformation that has already begun in your life grows stronger. Remember, you were chosen. And this isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing. God doesn't choose the strongest or the most prepared. He chooses those who are willing to trust in Him, and by doing so, He transforms everything. Your life will never be the same again. What God is doing in you isn't just about changing what's around you, but shaping who you are completely. He is preparing you for something only you can accomplish, and through this transformation, He is showing the world what it means to live with purpose. While others struggle to understand what's happening, you already know this change comes from God. It is He who is renewing your soul, your spirit, and even your body. And through this, He is giving you the strength you need to fulfill His purpose in your life. So move forward with confidence. Continue allowing God to guide you. Remember that your transformation is a living testimony of God's power. And even if you can't see the full picture right now, every step you take is bringing you closer to the plan He has for you. You were called, you were chosen, and your life will never be the same again. And that is the greatest proof that when you surrender to God, He does infinitely more than you could ever imagine.